You know this guy, right? T-Rex, or Tyrannosaurus Rex, the most famous dinosaur in the world. T-Rex is widely believed to have been the fiercest of all meat eaters and biggest ever carnivore on Earth, but I'm here to tell you otherwise. But I say, this chap Giganotosaurus, or giant southern lizard, has been the most ferocious beast and largest carnivorous animal that ever lived on Earth for real. Well then, why do they call it a lizard? The truth of the matter is that scientists refer to all dinosaurs as lizards, so this one was a truly enormous creature. It was an enormous creature measuring 12 to 13 meters long with about 5 meters from head height to ground. You would have had to look straight up in order to see its face standing right before you at present. While its height and length are known exactly, its weight is less certain, ranging between 8 and 14 tons according to some sources. That sounds like 2 African elephants put together. So now do you understand why it's called gigantic? By then, the Earth was different from what it is today. The continents were still moving, and the climate was much warmer than it is at present. In this kind of world, Giganotosaurus lived in what we now call Argentina. This region was basically a heaven for huge dinosaurs during that time. In fact, it was this very Argentina which boasted of the largest bird ever to fly, known as Argentavis, having the wingspan of about 7 meters. Let us just say that Giganotosaurus could have swallowed this huge bird alive. So how did Giganotosaurus become so famous? Honestly speaking, many people didn't know that such a creature existed until a few years ago. However, everyone knows about it since 2022 when it appeared in Jurassic World Dominion. The movie pits Giganotosaurus against T-Rex, and consequently many people wanted more information about this beast. But let us go back a bit. The story of the discovery of Giganotosaurus is quite interesting itself. Until 1993, no one knew that such an animal had been alive on Earth. It was during this year that a group of paleontologists were doing their research in Argentina, and then they just discovered a fossil. But this was not an ordinary fossil. When they began digging it out, they found out themselves having come across something very special. The fossil that was discovered by them was about 70% complete. Now you might be thinking, so what? But you must know, for such a creature which lived 100 million years ago, this is indeed rare. Generally speaking, fossils of big dinosaurs are much more fragmented than this. Get it? Like solving 700 pieces when you have to solve a puzzle with 1,000 pieces to make up your mind on what the overall picture was like, isn't it? Seeing this fossil made scientists giddy with excitement. They were extremely happy and did not know where to begin from. The first thing that struck them was that they were dealing with a carnivorous creature. This could be easily inferred from its sharp teeth, which appear large as well. Besides, when they estimated its size, they found it to be even larger than T-Rex. Giganotosaurus is truly larger than T-Rex, which many people think was the biggest carnivore in the history of Earth. A little bit bigger, that's all. However, Spinosaurus had become the largest carnivore on Earth in history, and if you would like, we could do a video on that too. Nevertheless, Giganotosaurus was more savage and reckless. Giganotosaurus measured approximately 13 meters, but T-Rex was just slightly shorter at around 12 meters. In terms of mass, they were quite similar, but not exactly the same. They weighed nearly between 8 and 14 tons each. However, they had some noticeable distinctions too. For instance, while Giganotosaurus had more teeth that were sharper than T-Rex's, its jaw wasn't as strong. So when it came to biting into something, what mattered the most were its sharp teeth. Despite not having as many teeth as Giganotosaurus, T-Rex exhibited the strongest jaws of all dinosaurs ever discovered. Therefore, one had a knife and the other had a hammer. And so you may ask, so who's gonna win? We will never know because these two never coexisted. It happened roughly 15 million years before T-Rex evolved into the dinosaur species we're familiar with today. By that time, Giganotosaurus had already disappeared from our planet. Yet, if ever there is time machine invented someday and these two are made to face off each other, most likely their fight would be close enough to call. This huge meat eater ate about 30 kilos of meat every day. 30 kilos might seem like a lot, but when you consider that its weight was 14 tons, you realize it's actually not that much. It's like a person who weighs 70 kilograms eating just 150 grams of meat every day. But how did it find so much food? Giganotosaurus was an expert hunter. Despite being so massive, it could run at speeds of up to 30 kilometers per hour, and when the giant took off, the ground trembled beneath its paws. Interestingly enough, Giganotosaurus had small arms just like T-Rex did. These were hardly 1 meter long, quite short for an animal with a length of about 13 meters. Well, then why were they so tiny? The scientists call it evolution. In millions and millions of years, these dinosaurs' arms grew smaller and smaller with time. But why did their arms start to get shorter? They had become a burden. When fighting against their foes, for instance, enemies would aim for their hands, causing them pain. As such, nature said, let's make them small enough such that they can't be injured easily. You may wonder, how did it eat with such stumpy forelimbs? Well, the truth is that it did not use its arms for eating at all. This Giganotosaurus was a total mouth feeder. Its jaws had enough strength to rip off and swallow large bits of meat. Another interesting point about Giganotosaurus is that even though it was very large, its brain was actually quite small. Its skull measured approximately 1.8 meters in length and 80 centimeters wide, but its brain was only as big as that of a marmoset monkey, which can be compared to the size of walnut fruit. So why did it have such a little brain? But you know, dinosaurs were generally pretty simple animals. They were more instinctual than intellectual beings. That doesn't mean Giganotosaurus wasn't clever, though it could track down prey and had hunting tactics. But well, it couldn't play chess. Argentina is where Giganotosaurus was living. However, it looked totally different 100 million years back because the area has changed. At that time, the climate was much hotter and the place had thick forests and extensive wetlands. It resembled Amazon, but it was bigger. In this habitat, Giganotosaurus was king. Not that it wore a crown, of course. I meant that it was the largest predator around this region. But still, its life wasn't an easy one though. Despite being very large, it had to hunt for food daily in order to survive. Giganotosaurus was a greedy dinosaur indeed. Its usual prey would be some big herbivorous dinosaurs. One of its main meals used to be Argentinosaurus, which also means that Argentinosaurus wasn't just a snack for it at all. This dinosaur measured approximately 30 meters long and weighed about 80 tons, which is nearly 6 times more than the size of Giganotosaurus. They could not get this alone, as scientists think these dinosaurs probably lived in small groups and hunted together. Whenever they wanted to catch an Argentinosaurus, some of them would go together to attack. Thus, one bit from behind, another distracted from front, while others attacked sideways. They didn't always manage to do this though. Argentinosaurus was not defenseless either. It had a long tail which could deal a heavy blow that would even break Giganotosaurus bones. So every hunt was a big risk, but hunger would sometimes make Giganotosaurus take such risks. This does not imply that the only food for Giganotosaurus were huge dinosaurs. It took advantage of anything that came across it. When there is a smaller dinosaur, it will definitely eat it as well. In some instances, when prey wasn't found, scavenging became necessary for survival. In other words, they had to chow down on dead dinosaurs. Even though they weren't very tasty, you ate whatever you could when there were no other options. When you're this big, people usually don't dare to attack you, but that doesn't mean Giganotosaurus didn't have any enemies. To start with, another Giganotosaurus might have been dangerous if 2 adult males fought over territory. Again, little carnivorous dinosaurs posed a danger to Giganotosaurus babies. They could be attacked by small carnivores on their own. Therefore, their mothers were extremely defensive of them and most of the time never let the young ones go alone. Now, it should be noted that Giganotosaurus grew at an enormous pace. Paleontologists have investigated its bones preserved in rocks and found out that it would have grown quite rapidly within its first years of life. And this means that within a short while a little Giganotosaurus could turn into a big, dangerous carnivorous predator. So you may ask, how long did this dinosaur live? We do not know for certain. Yet, considering its size as well as the speed at which it was growing, scientists believe that it might have lived to between 50 and 100 years old at best. However, many of them were killed by hunting or fighting with other dinosaurs before they reached this age. Another thing is how Giganotosaurus managed to digest all these meat. It must have had very strong stomachs. Researchers claim that the dinosaur probably swallowed stones along with its food. These pebbles would remain in its stomach and help chew food better, just like a tiny processor inside the stomach. We almost can say that looking at the skeletons and appearances of these dinosaurs is true, but never be 100% sure about their skin because it did not fossilize, so we don't know what kind of skin they had. Was it like leather, fur, or probably feathers just as in birds. All these possibilities exist because all birds are descendants of dinosaurs. Regarding why Giganotosaurus became extinct, no one really knows, but we know that Giganotosaurus vanished approximately 83 million years ago, well before the mass extinction event. Measuredly, there was a decrease in population number of its prey species brought by climate change, maybe, or alternatively new competitors took over its niche after that period. Anyhow, this great creature went extinct after ruling for millions of years, thereby disappearing from the face of the earth. Someone may perhaps find the Giganotosaurus DNA someday and regenerate it as it occurred in the movie Jurassic Park. However, we all seem to concur that seeing this one in museums and not on our city streets is preferable. Tell us what you think about this video, and if you enjoyed watching it, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment suggesting any other videos that you would like us to create.